run, 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 run. Hey, hey,
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the ACS Universe podcast. I am, of course, ACS, and I'm finally doing it. I've been talking about this thing for probably a year or so almost. So I've been talking about doing this podcast where I was gonna rank comic book slash superhero films, my favorites, in other words, and put them in a ranking order as the ones I like the least and the ones I like the best. And so I've been talking about doing this and have been doing research on it. I've been working on this thing for months and months and months. And people be like, it's just not rocket science. Just rank your movies. But for me, it is because I'm gonna put this list out here, and it's like this is my feelings, my thoughts. All of these movies are my choices. These are these are my decisions. This is what I like. If you like something different, that's cool. But so I wanted to put some thought into it and really, really, say, wait a minute, is this really, is this really my favorite film, or do I really like this movie that much? And so I'm finally at a point where I think I can throw it out here. And look, lists change all the time. They just do. Movies get released, you might see something in the movie and say, "Oh man," and that might not do it for you as much as you thought you liked it before. It's just that's just the way it is. But anyway, first off, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at 2279ACS. And so I decided, as you can see, going with the Mando with the little homie right here, I decided not to go with a comic book shirt because I didn't want to show my hand. I'm sure some people might be watching this and they might be like, "Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute." He's got on this DC shirt or this Marvel shirt or this whatever shirt, and I didn't want nobody to be like, I think I know where he's going with this list. But yeah, so I decided to just keep the shirt neutral. You know what I'm saying? The hat's neutral. Um, Look, every movie on this list I like, if not love. Okay, and so don't think a movie that's at the far end, at the kind of, not at the top of the list, but at the bottom. Don't think that I don't like the movie. I mean, I love almost every single movie on here. It's just how I feel about them. And so when making this list, I decided, I said, man, what are the criteria? So I was wondering, like, what is the criteria for a list like this? You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, this is important to me that I put this out here and it be like a real representation of the movies that I like, of the way I feel about these movies. And so I was thinking, I was like, man, what is the criteria, man? What is the main thing that would help decide a list like this? Because this is a daunting list. There's a lot of movies out there. You know what I'm saying? And as you can see, I am a fan of comic books and comic book films. And so the list came down to one thing. I thought about it. I said, wait a minute. When's the last time I've seen these movies? How often do I watch these movies? And that became the number one factor for the rest of the criteria was, because look, the number one movie on this list, I saw it this morning. Okay, so that became the topic. The starter was, how often do I watch these movies? Because I can't, in good conscience, say, oh, such and such is in my top 5. I ain't seen it in a year and a half. You understand what I'm saying? And if you're watching this right now, you're a fan of comic book slash superhero films, so the ones that you watch a lot. You would say they're your favorites, right? Because you're not going to sit there and say, man, I've watched this movie just about 2-3 times a week for the past 6 months, but I like this other movie. Obviously that's your favorite. That's one of your favorite movies, and so that's how I had to come into this. Was that was the starter for it? How often I watch it? Okay, but basically, because over the years I used to just blurt out random like top 5s on my videos, and then I go back and watch them and be like, that didn't make any sense. Why did I even say that movie? I hadn't even watched it in I don't know how long. So I'm sorry if this is all over the place. I normally am like all over the place with my stuff. I had to jot down a little note right there. But anyway, you know how I am. I'm all over the place. But yeah, I used to blurt out random top movies and shit, and it would not giving them any thought. And I'm like, then I go back and see it, and it's trash, basically. Um, so like I said, movie lists change all the time. They new movies come out and you have to insert and move and compartmentalize these movies. But the next thing was the impact these movies have on me. Like, how do I feel when I watch them? Is it memorable? Do I have hair on the back of my neck stand up when I see certain scenes from these movies? Like, how does these movies affect me? How do they emotionally? How do they make me feel? Another thing to tell you right now, movie gross, how much these movies made in theaters or whatever worldwide box office have zero to do with how they're ranked on this list. I don't give a fuck how much it made. You know, it's like I said before, it's how it means to me, what it means to me. Um, like I said at the outset, there's a lot of you. A lot of you are not gonna like this list. Okay, and a lot of you will like the list. A lot of you will be feeling the same way I do, and that's what's good about lists like this is that it sparks conversation, where you can have a conversation with people. Which I know that's not always how it goes online. People totally like to, they can't have conversations. Some of them are a bit pieces of shit, if I can say it so eloquently. But anyway, so this is what I did. So I went online and looked up all comic book slash superhero films ever made. I mean, talking about this list goes back, dude. Like you talking 1951 Superman and the Mole Man. You know what I'm saying? That's how far this list goes back. It's in 1944 is Captain America. All of the movies, right? So I went through this list and I marked off every single movie that I knew was not going to make my top 10. Everyone that I knew was not going to make it. And then so I went back and I was about to, I was going to have like discussions with myself about these next films. Well, I crossed off all those movies off this list, and the crazy thing happened. There were exactly 20 movies left. 20. Exactly 20 movies left on the list. And I thought, I can do a top 20. I'll do a top 20. You know what I'm saying? So I decided to do a top 20. So as I go through this list, I got notes all over these pages. Just, I'm telling you, man, I put some real thought into this shit. And movies number 20 through 11, I'll say the movie's title and say a couple things about it. Won't go too much in depth with it, and then I'll just roll on to the next one. You know what I'm saying? Then when I get to the top 10, it's gonna be a little meatier, a little more description in there. So let's get this thing started, man. Like I said, some of y'all ain't gonna like it. Some of y'all gonna love it. Some of y'all gonna be in between, but that's I love that. Conversations. Leave posts in the comments or whatever you think about. Oh man, I can't believe you didn't put this on here or this, or I can't believe you put that. I invite that type of conversation. It's when it gets to the point, well, that's a fucking bullshit list. You can miss me with that shit. All right. So here we go. Oh, there's gonna be some movies that are just noticeably absent from this list. There's various reasons. I mean, I guess you can call this an honorable mention. You know what? I wouldn't even call it an honorable mention. Avengers Endgame is not on this list. Okay. I enjoyed, I tell you what, I saw a tweet one time that perfectly sums it up. They say Avengers Endgame was one of my greatest movie going experiences of my life. I also haven't seen the movie since then. So that sums that up. The Avengers Endgame, like I said, I had a great movie going experience. Purchased it on Blu-ray, didn't even watch it one full time after I purchased it, and haven't seen it since. So remember, watchability. How often we watch these movies. All right, so let's go ahead and get this list kicked off. At number 20 is Deadpool. Okay, Deadpool was good. It was funny. Ryan Reynolds was perfectly cast as the Merc with the mouth. The second one to make the list because I've probably only seen it like twice, but this one made the list just because it was good. It moved me, and it had memorable scenes. But maybe almost 2 years since I've seen it. You know what I'm saying? So and it is what it is, man. I just at number 19, Spider-Man. I am a big fan of Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker / Spider-Man. The movie had great action. I'm a big fan of Todd McFarlane's Spidey comics. So when you see in the making that's what they use some of his crazy Spider-Man artwork for some of the scenes in the movie. That was great, and overall the movie's awesome. And that kind of reinvigorated my love for because I had got out of comic books for a little bit at that stage in my life, and so that kind of brought me back in. It's just that so many more movies have come out since that movie that it just pushes it way to the back of the line. Um, at number 18, Batman. Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, perfect joke, perfectly cast film. Tim Burton's directing style for the movie was great. It was awesome. They used a lot of that matte stuff where a lot of the scenes were painted. That movie's still awesome. I can't remember. I won't say it's a few months since I've seen it, but it actually came out recently re-released, and I purchased it. So, but yeah, Batman. That movie always holds a special place in my heart. I remember I actually went to see it in the movies by myself. I think I caught a bus to the movie theater and went and watched it by myself. So, but yeah, I loved it. I mean, what kid doesn't love a movie like that? You know what I'm saying? Batman, coming out like that. Let's move along at number 17. The Dark Knight Rises. I think this was a great conclusion to the trilogy, to the Dark Knight trilogy. Tom Hardy was perfect as Bane. I like their take on that. I like Christopher Nolan's grounding of the Cape Crusader throughout this entire trilogy, which we're not done with him in this list yet either. But yeah, I think it was a great conclusion. I remember buying it right before my last deployment. Bam, big boxed up trilogy set with all these special features and stuff on it. But yeah, man. At number 17, The Dark Knight Rises. At number 16, Captain America: Civil War. Okay, this movie, I've seen it recently. And look, the movie had cool action sequences. You can diss on it all you want to. It has some cool action sequences. It was great to include Spider-Man and Black Panther in the movie. And I thought that for what they were trying to do, because they did not nowhere near reach the awesomeness of the Civil War in Marvel Comics, but on a smaller scale, I think they did a good job with it. And so at number 16, Captain America: Civil War. At number 15, the beginning of Christopher Nolan's take on the Cape Crusader, Batman Begins. Okay, so this movie came out before like this social media explosion. I didn't even know it was coming out. Okay, I think I saw how I found out was me and my wife went to see something in the movies and they showed the trailer beforehand. I was like, what? So this was before you got, because nowadays we see trailer. This was back in the day when you didn't see a movie trailer until you were sitting in the movie theater about to watch a movie. And I saw it. I was, what is this? What is going on right now? You know what I'm saying? And so, he grounded the character. And I can remember one of the most significant things about the Blu-ray was when they were talking about going to, talked to DC Comics and some of the Batman creators about making a new Batman film. They said all we wanted you to not do is do not have the yellow around the Batman signal, and of course he didn't. So yeah, at number 15, Batman Begins. At number 14, Spider-Man 2. Now for a long time, Spider-Man 2 was my favorite comic book film. Period. Could not be fucked with. Alfred Molina's Doc Ock. Perfect. Tobey Maguire again. I'm a fan of Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And it had a couple of. It just looked ripped off the pages, man. Anything that looks ripped off the pages, really, it just gets me from the beginning. The subway scene where they're fighting on the train, and he stops. Spider-Man stops the train, and takes his mask. It's an awesome scene. And an awesome movie that for a long time was like it ranked real high with me when it came to superhero films. But as with the first Spider-Man, as years have passed, I think better stuff has come out. Stuff that is, making me take notice more. At number 13, Iron Man. This is the one that started it all for the MCU. I think Robert Downey Jr. was perfectly cast as Tony Stark, aka Iron Man. And it has some great scenes in it. I mean, look, the movie was good. It's a good, whenever I do watch this movie, I'm like, it's also almost ripped straight off the pages of the comic book. You know what I'm saying? It looks that way anyway. So yeah, at number 13, Iron Man. At number 12, and this is going to surprise a lot of people probably, Avengers: Infinity War. Now, as pretty much a culmination, that's what Endgame is, but this is the second culmination, I guess you could say, of the MCU up until that point. It had great pacing. There's great moments in the movie. There's, you had watched these characters on film this entire time, and you're like wanting to see them interact with each other from different movies, and so you got to see a lot of that in this movie. It was one of the first time you saw a really, really powerful villain in the MCU, and they edited everything together well. It was, here's the last thing I'll say about that movie. The idea to have the characters die by dusting was genius. Pure fucking genius. That is so haunting, and it's beautiful, and it's so just it's so impactful. Because if they just drop dead, then the ending of that movie doesn't mean shit to you. But the way they let them go, I have to say, hats off to fucking Russo brothers or whoever in that whole camp decided, hey, when these characters die, let's have them float off into dust. Okay, so that's my number 12. Number 11, it really hurts me that this is not in the top 10. But I just haven't watched it in so long. Like, I haven't really had a desire to watch it in a long time. Superman the movie. And this is my favorite comic book character of all time. And this movie was one of the things that made me fall in love with Superman. It's just that the criteria, I just ain't watched it. It's one of my favorite films. Like I said, every movie on this list, I pretty much love the movie. But they're just... when I go to rank them, this is just where they fall. You know what I'm saying? And Superman the movie, it's probably been, probably close to a year since I've watched that movie. And I got it up there in the movies back there too. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I haven't seen it in quite some time. So that's number 20 through 11. Hey, that's just the way it is, man. That's the way it goes. Now we're about to jump into this top 10. I'll go a tad bit more in depth with the movies as I call them out, in other words. At number 10, Logan. Okay, Logan was such a great send-off to Hugh Jackman, who played the character. I can't remember how many movies he played him, but he played him a bunch of movies. It's so powerful the way they did this thing, and it's excuse me, it's really like on a level of sadness. It is, and the action sequence, everything from Logan at the beginning when those guys are trying to steal his tires until the death scene, which is so well done. Like, I can't exaggerate enough how well done that death scene was. It's just great. It's just awesome, man. Him fighting himself. It was just fighting X-23. Patrick Stewart as Professor X, and we got so accustomed to seeing him play that character, was on point with it. Daphne Keane as X-22 was such a young actress to give off such a powerful performance. This movie, I think it's always going to stay really high ranked in my list just because of how moving it is from beginning to end. It's an experience, and I have to say that it's one that I love, and that I catch that shit on TV, it's getting watched. You know what I mean? At number 9, The Avengers. So this was basically them bringing the team together. They had a few movies to come out: Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, and stuff. And they had introduced characters, and so they brought them together in a fucking cybers in a movie. And the story was great for the movie. I liked bringing Loki back, the Tesseract, and all of that shit. And it was, I can't lie. It was like jumping off the pages of the comics. You know what I'm saying? And the Battle of New York was very well put together. I like Iron Man sacrificing himself. It's a good movie. Now, some of the funny shit and some of the silly stuff in the movie just do not hold up over time. I will tell you that shit. But if I catch this movie on TV, I'm watching it, dog. I can't even lie. It's and the performances are great in it, and it's it's a good comic book film. You know what I'm saying? And so that moves me to number 8. And this is why I say the list changes. You know what I'm saying? And I'll tell you this too. Birds of Prey is coming up soon, and then you got Wonder Woman 1984, Black Widow. These movies coming out soon that I'm like, let me go ahead and drop this list because I know it's going to change, and that's what has kept me from putting this out sooner, is because stuff just keeps changing, and this next movie is the most recent, and this is why it's changed. It's Joker. Uh, Perfectly cast, perfectly directed. Joaquin Phoenix he's about to win that Oscar, you know what I'm saying, in a couple of weeks, guaranteed, for his performance, and it's hauntingly beautiful. Uh, the scene on the subway where you actually to see that descent, and then afterwards where he's dancing in the bathroom, it is mind blowing cinema. Okay, and this movie could probably be closer to the top of the list had it been out longer and had I had time to really experience it more. Because the rest of these movies on this list, I've probably seen them. I mean, probably at least 50 times a piece. Okay, the rest of the movies on this list, I hadn't seen because it's really recent. I purchased it when it came out, seen it a couple times since then, and so, but yeah, it that movie will it's another basically like a game changer is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, number 8 is Joker. Okay, at number 7, Black Panther. Ryan Coogler was the perfect choice to direct this film. Everything from the costumes to the music to the cinematography to the special effects was awesome on this film. I think I think Michael B. Jordan steals the entire movie as Killmonger, um, and just it done so well to have the culture and the in Wakanda, the way they did Wakanda, perfect. All of that stuff is awesome. You know. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you know, but like the way I rank movies is it's on a comic book cover scale. So 5 comic book covers is perfect. Like all of these movies in the top 10 are pretty much 5 out of 5 comic book cover movies. So I find zero wrong with them, and that's what made it even tougher to kind of rank them. But then I go back to how often I would just be sitting somewhere. Oh man, I got 30 minutes to kill. Let me pop this on and watch just a little bit of it. I only got 30 minutes, but and so that's another factor that goes in. I should have said that at the beginning. But yeah, so Joker, uh, I mean not Joker. Shit, I'm going backwards. Black Panther, perfect film, perfect film, man. The soundtrack is awesome, everything. So and again, Ryan Coogler, perfect cast, perfect choice to direct this movie. At number 6, Watchmen. Um, if you follow me on any kind of social media, you know how often you see me throwing up that Watchmen opening sequence. The best in movies. The best opening sequence I've ever seen in a movie, period. Nothing, especially comic book films, I don't see anything beating that. You have to come more epic than that, and it's very, very difficult to do. Watchmen, the comic book accuracy, surpassed by none. Surpassed by no comic book films that I know of. It just is. And people got, oh man, it's not accurate enough to the comics. But then you found Zack Snyder went out and made it accurate to the comics. Oh man, he made it too accurate. Motherfucker, make up your mind, okay? But seriously though, Watchmen, I remember I had the graphic novel was a little bit mature for me when I was young as I was when it was released. But I remember on my first deployment, shouts out Salt and Pilon, you know what I'm saying? He handed me the graphic novel. He said, "Hey man, read this because I know you like comics." I read it and I was blown the fuck away. And then, like I said, back in that day, I didn't know nothing about Watchmen coming out. All I know is about a couple months after I read that graphic novel, bam! I was like, "Hey, Salt and Pilon, come check this out." The trailer had got released. I was like, "They're making a movie of this shit." And we both watched the trailer and was fucking blown away by the accuracy. Okay, that from the graphic novel. Now, they changed a few things. They did. But yeah, great acting, great attention to detail. I, Zack Snyder went out there and directed the undirectable, if that's a fucking word. Everybody said this. There's no way you could make this movie, and yet and still, he made this movie. So at number 6, I watch it so often it's ridiculous. Watchmen. All right, y'all. It's top 5 time. I know, all you guys who know me are watching this list. There are a few movies that I haven't spoken of yet. Okay. And look, if the movie didn't make the list, that doesn't mean I disliked it. It just means that like it's not high enough in my mind to where I could just, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I flip past a movie when I'm flipping channels, that means it's just not a priority for me. And so, you don't watch movies a lot of times if you don't like them. And if you do, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you right now. But for me, these 5 movies that are on this list, they've all been watched at least once within the last 7 days. So within the last week, I've watched every one of these movies. That's just the way It is, and I watch them because I enjoy them. I watch them because, oh, I got this short bit of time to kill. I'm gonna watch this one. Okay. At number 5, Wonder Woman. Uh, Diana is by far my favorite female, not just female, but one of she's into my top 3 of favorite comic book characters. Period. And so Zack Snyder perfectly cast Gal as Diana Wonder Woman. Patty Jenkins did such a good job taking that character and like showing us the history. Everything that happened at Themyscira, all that stuff was portrayed greatly on the screen. Her compassion, her, you know, everything. And I think Gal will always be remembered as like that perfectly cast one. Where when she was first cast, I saw some straight hate for that shit, and then all of a sudden you see what she brought. You see what she brought to Batman v Superman in such a small on such small screen time, and then when she brought the Wonder Woman, very much looking forward to Wonder Woman 1984 coming out in a few months. But yeah, at number 5, Wonder Woman, just beautifully done. No Man's Land scene. Come on now. One of the most perfectly crafted action sequences I've ever seen in my life. Um, so yes, big shouts out to Patty Jenkins, Gal Gadot. Wonder Woman is my number 5 favorite superhero slash comic book film of all time. Okay, at number 4, this movie changed how people viewed comic book films. It changed how, excuse me, it changed how uh, people who vote on movies and things of that nature looked at comic book films. It gave it a seriousness and authenticness that I think had very rarely been seen before this in comic book films. And number 4 is The Dark Knight. To me, I love all of Christopher Nolan's films, and maybe one day I'll get up and rank them. I have to wait though until after Tenet comes out. You know what I'm saying? But after Tenet comes out, then maybe I'll rank my Christopher Nolan movies. But this is my favorite Christopher Nolan film. It's just a masterpiece. It's just a masterpiece. Heath Ledger, transcendent performance. Christian Bale, still great as Bruce Wayne, aka Batman. The movie went into such detail, put a lot of things together. It's just the action scene at the end. The it's really hard for me to put this one in words because The Dark Knight is really big for me. I remember the first time I saw it. It was in Iraq. Me and my boy, shouts out Miles McCadney. You know what I'm saying? We had duty the next morning, real early, and we started this movie at like 9, 10 o'clock. And you know it's a long movie. We end up staying up watching the entire thing and looking at ourselves before we went to bed like, damn, we done fucked up for tomorrow. But yeah, it's up there in comic book films. I think that scene where he walks in with all the rest of the mobsters and he's like, I thought my jokes were bad. I'm sorry, I do a bad impression. That entire scene is so well made, man. So yes, at number 4, The Dark Knight. At number 3, this movie actually changed the way I looked at the Marvel Cinematic Universe because I had a thought of it. Yeah, I like some of the movies. Yes, I'm willing to spend my money to go to the movies and see these things. And but this one changed my view of it, which none of the rest of the movies have after that change. Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Now this movie is tight from start to finish, and it just happens to be the Marvel movie with the least amount of jokes in it. None of that silly stuff. Just straight up action, acting, special effects were on par. Samuel L. Jackson was almost at his best in this movie. The scene where the cops try to pull him over. What? This movie is what I would have liked to have seen pretty much for the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as far as like it's a little bit more serious than you're taking it. You know what I'm saying? And not talking about the Infinity movies or anything like or Endgame, but you know what I mean when I say more of the sillier Marvel films. But Captain America: The Winter Soldier, man, it's just, and also like how the storyline of having Hydra be in Shield for so many years. Perfect, man. It's a perfect film. The Russo brothers did their thing on this one. I was really impressed with it. I was really impressed with the interactions between Cap and Bucky. That fight scene, by the way, boy, cold blooded. Okay, so at number 3, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. At number 2, this is the most divisive film, and not just comic book film history, but like movie history, period. If you want to be realistic about it, okay? Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition. Now, I saw the regular theatrical cut. I saw it like 6 or 7 times in theaters. You know what I'm saying? When it first came out, I actually liked it. But this movie, either you loved it or you fucking hated it. There was no in between with this. It was, and this is where the hate for Zack Snyder and all of that bullshit came up. Most divisive movie ever. And you're gonna hear this again with the number 1 film. Zack Snyder came in and said, "Look, let's really ground these characters. If Superman and Batman and all of these people, all of these superheroes existed in modern reality, that this is exactly how it would go. You know, oh, Superman's gloomy. Suck a dick. All right, you know what I'm saying? Hey, look, this movie had arguably the greatest fight scene in history. Batman in the warehouse, cleaning clocks, clapping cheeks. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Hey, look, Batman, I loved everything from him giving Batman or Bruce Wayne PTSD, having him go on this 20-year span of where he's done gotten progressively more violent to where he's killing, to where he has to realize I need to bring myself back in. One of the most memorable superhero entrances ever, when Wonder Woman drops in and Are You With Her starts. Man, come on now, God damn, man, this movie, hey, the drama. And this is the thing, the Ultimate Edition, if you haven't seen it yet and you're still hating on this movie because of reasons that the Ultimate Edition can probably solve, I think you need to see the Ultimate Edition, because I saw a lot of holes, even though I like the theatrical cut, but the Ultimate Edition, flawless. If you don't like it, come fight me. Come find me. You know what I'm saying? The movie is awesome. And I think Zack Snyder doesn't get good enough credit for being able to bring these 2 characters on the screen for the very first time and have them have a memorable fight scene. At the charity gala, the little back and forth between Bruce and Clark is just amazing, man. I can't say enough about this movie. Number 2 on my list, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition. And that brings us to the last movie. If you know me at all, if you've listened to any of my videos, if you follow me on any type of social media, you know there was one movie that I have not spoken of yet, so you know it absolutely has to be number 1. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I still have it from where I watched it this morning. Man of Steel is my number 1 favorite comic book / superhero film. Henry Cavill was the perfect choice to play Clark Kent and Superman both, because when you're casting a actor or actress to play a comic book character and who has an alter ego, you have to cast somebody who can play both parts. And I just Zach modernized it, man. He brought him to the forefront. As big of a fan of Superman as I was before this movie came out, he made me an even bigger fan. He took it and did an unexpected thing where he said, no, if you actually had a guy who existed today who had these kind of powers and who was dejected like this, who had to let his father die because he didn't want him to be subjected to people knowing his powers, if that happened, there'd be a little bit of depression. You'd have to find your way. And that's another thing that makes me so mad about how much hate Zack Snyder Superman got, because there was this thing where he had an arc for the character where he would have turned out to be that where everybody wants. I'm not going to say the silly Superman, nah, but he would have been more positive than what he was in these first 2 films. If you would have let the character grow on screen, he got so much hate. The studio decided, oh, we got to go in another direction. We need to do something. We need to change something. And so you see what we got when with I'm not even going to mention it on here, but yeah, Zack modernized the character. He rooted him into modern reality. Zod, man. Such a great villain. Such a great, great, great villain in this movie. The fight between them at the end, great. And I hate when people say there's literally several instances of smiling from Clark in this movie. Several. And oh, he don't smile, he's dark, he's gloomy, he whatever. So number one on my list of comic books slash superhero films is Man of Steel. And I don't know if anybody else can do the character the way Zach did. We'll just have to wait and see. There are a lot of rumors about, maybe J.J. Abrams might try to tackle the character, or, it is what it is. But as of right now, and we got, like I said, we got Birds of Prey, we got Black Widow, we got Wonder Woman 1984 coming up. So we'll see if this changes my rankings or not. I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys that I probably won't be doing this on a monthly basis or anything like that. Like, this will probably almost be a 6 month to a year type thing where I rank these movies again. It's just, I just can't see myself. I just can't see movies coming in and just changing my thoughts on movies like that, especially how often I watch these things. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so I know y'all are going to post in the comments. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me what you think about my list. Tell me what your list might have been. You know what I'm saying? You didn't even got to give me 20. Give me 5, and we'll have a conversation about it. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if you jump it in the comments with some bullshit, I ain't even going to reply to it. I'm just letting you know. So, just know that I'm here for conversation, not conflict, okay? But yes, that's my list. I've been talking about doing it for quite some time, and I finally just did it. Like I said, post in the comments. Let me know what you think about the list. Tell me what your movies are. Jesus Christ is one of the longest episodes I've had in a minute. See, when I get to talking about these movies, hey, time just takes off on me. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at 2279ACS. Until next time, ACS Universe Podcast. Release the Snyder Cut.
Run, 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 run.